How's it going, loyal YouTube subscribers? Today I'm going to be doing a tyre change in here in the lounge room at the moment. Don't tell the missus. I've got a bit of cardboard down here, but just to protect the tiles, of course. I don't claim to be any kind of expert on tyre changes, but I've done a few now, and this is the way I do it, and it's the easiest way that I've found so far. And this is with just tyre levers, no tools, no tyre changing machines or any of that shit. Yeah, this is just with the basic tools. Speaking of which, here's number one tool. My hat mount GoPro, which I actually used this thing here, which is what the camera was mounted to inside the box when I bought it. I just trimmed it up a bit and zip tied it to the brim of a shitty old gimpy moto hat, because nobody's actually going to wear that thing. Next thing, tyre levers. I can't recommend these enough. These are the Motion Pro T6 aluminium levers, combo levers. They got the 27 and 22 wrenches on the end for undoing your wheel nuts or whatever. They weigh nothing. They're really good to keep in your backpack, and I use them at home for doing tyre changes as well. Oh, by the way, these things they're about $45 each, so I think, yeah, they're not cheap, but they're good. Next thing you want is a large-ish flat blade screwdriver, always handy for when you can't get these things in there. Come back to that in a minute. Spanners for undoing your rim locks and valve stem nuts. I've got a new rim lock here to put on because the one that's in there is a bit shitty. Valve remover, and a hammer's always handy, and of course some soapy water. Yeah, this guy here, this comes with a new check tubeless system when you buy the kit, and it's very handy. I'll show you how it works when I get to that stage, but if you need to make one yourself, it's just a piece of steel, basically hangs in the in the tyre like so. So if you can make something, just fold an edge over a piece of metal, wouldn't be too hard to do. Right, so I'm changing the girlfriend's rear tyre today. It's a D606 Dunlop. I'm probably going to keep it and use it with my tubeless because it's still got a bit of tread on it. Or reverse it and run it at low pressures. I'll have a couple of 100 Ks in it for sure. So this is the tyre I'm going to be fitting today. It's a Motors Arena Hybrid, and this is what I'm fitting to mine next. It's the Motors Extreme Hybrid, and that's a stupid cat. Okay, take our valve remover. Remove the valve. The cat's gonna love this. Gold. Alright, set that aside. You won't lose it. $12mm wrench or spanner. Take off the valve retaining nut. This rim lock's a 13mm, which is real fucking handy because nothing else on the bike is a 13mm that I know of. Anyway, just loosen the rim lock. Actually, I'm taking this one. I don't usually take the rim lock all the way off when I change a tyre. I just leave it on. But since I'm putting a new rim lock on this time, I will take it right off. Take the nut right off. I mean, if you're just leaving the rim lock in, just undo the nut as far as it'll go without taking it all the way off. So the next step is to break the bead on both sides of this tyre. People use tools like bead breakers and all sorts of shit, but I've found a pair of good old pluggers does the trick. Stand on it, jump on it, whatever you got to do. It's best to start or get it off not near the rim lock, like away from the rim lock. Obviously, you just want to break that tyre away from the edge of the rim, like so. You can see that there. It's come away there nicely. You want it like that all the way around. Flip it over, do the same again. Just get your heel in there, jump on it. Sometimes, depending on how long your tyre's been on, sometimes they can be a real bitch. You might have to get your levers out. Give them a bit of gentle persuasion. But once you get one spot started, it's easy. There we go. Alright, so I'll grab my levers, screwdriver. So to start this, you want to have the rim lock opposite you, okay, and the trick to doing it is to get this tyre edge, rim, bead, whatever you want to call it, down into the drop center of the rim here. You want it down in there all the way around, that way it can move up, give you some slack to lift it over the edge here. I'll put a diagram up on the screen basically of what you're trying to do. So as you can see there, the bead's down in the edge, and that makes your job that much easier. Okay, so I'll start levering next to the rim lock here. You want to go a couple of spokes away from the rim lock, you don't want to be right on top of it. And you don't want to jam your tube, but start pulling it away from the rim and then just push down around the rim. Pull out like so. It's going to be a bitch. And what I do, just tuck that underneath the disc like so. Keep pushing down on your beads, keep it down. Take another bite here. Whatever. As you can see, that's broken its back. It's going to be a piece of piss from here on out. As long as we don't pinch the tube, that should be fine. Just keep going around. What you want to do now is get the tube out. So push your valve stem out and just grab your tube out. This one's actually pretty well had it. I haven't bought a replacement tube, so I have to reuse it. I would probably replace that with a heavy duty if I had the choice, but I don't have one. So, and when I first started doing these, I used to try and get in here and lever the whole tyre off the same side, which I guess a lot of people do because they don't know that it's much easier to do it this other way. What I'll do is flip it over now and just do the same thing on this side. So I have the rim lock away from me, make sure it's in the drop center, start next to the rim lock, get it out, get it started. Again, and you want to watch your knuckles on this sprocket too, it can be quite nasty. If you're finding it really difficult to lever it off, you don't have your your bead down in the drop center. It should come off relatively easy. Also, obviously it depends on the tyre. A lot of them are quite difficult. Dunlops in general are pretty good, I've found. So what you got once this is done, you'll find your rim's gonna drop down into there like that. So I'll grab it where the rim lock is, pull it sideways and just rip that tyre off. Try not to smack yourself in the face with it. That's one old tyre removed. Now let's take this old rim lock off. You can see it's falling apart. I knew it was getting a bit shitty, hence why the new one. I might just clean that up a little bit before I put the new one in. So what I've done is just given this rim a bit of a clean up with a wire brush. The tyre's been on there for a long time, and it's been on a number of beach rides, so it's a bit of corrosion and old dirt and shit in there. So yeah, I've given the tube a bit of a clean up as well, and the rim tape. Now just putting the rim tape back on. Grab the new rim lock. And if you have rim tape on your rims, which you should, you want to make sure that the holes are lined up for the valve nicely, because it can be a real pain in the ass if it's not. Now, the rim lock in. Yeah, it doesn't want to line up very well, it's going to be a pain in the ass. Just going to leave this nut loose for the time being so it can push out. Alright, so you want to make sure that if your tyre is directional, you're putting it on the right way. You know, if it's supposed to rotate a certain way, it'll have little arrows somewhere. But I believe this one's not directional, so it can go either way. I have heard, I don't know how true it is, that the little white paint dot that they put on the tyres is where the lightweight spot of the tyre is, so that's where I always put the rim lock, to counterbalance the weight, keep it a bit more even. I don't know how true that is or not, but you can probably Google it if you really want to know. So yeah, rim lock will go where that white spot on the tyre is. So this is where our little backing plate comes into play. Hooks on the tyre like that. I'll put it where the white dot is because that's where I'm going to shove the rim lock. Okay, so you want to basically just guide it onto the guide plate like so, and then keep downward pressure on it. That's the important part. Grab your spoons. Start. You want to keep that downward pressure. It's just going to pop back out again. I hope the camera's picking up what I'm doing here. Losing a tyre lever inside the tyre. Downward pressure on the rim. Eventually it'll just pop down inside. Sometimes I just want to fight you for the last breath. There we go. Rim's inside the tyre. What you want to try and do, center it up a little bit. Try and make sure that your rim lock's still next to your white dot. You want to put the rim lock towards you. You can try and lift the tyre away from the rim a bit, save you from scratching it so much. You want to start levering it over, obviously leaving the rim lock area till last. Just keep a knee on there to stop it coming off as you go around. This is where you want to make sure you're getting your bead down into the drop center of the tyre again to make it easier to lever over the rest of the rim. Still leaving rim lock area to last, so let's work towards that rim lock. When you get to it, what you want to do is push it in so that the tyre, so it's on the right side of the bead, and that's one side done. Now, the worst part of this entire job, and there's one reason that I'm very happy I have tubeless, so I don't have to worry about putting these fucking tubes in. I hate it. The heavy duty ones are even worse. I'm just going to put a dab of grease around that there. It's a bit rusty, might make it last a bit longer. Now, okay, you're going to flip your wheel over. What I'm doing at the moment is just seeing if the hole in that rim tape's going to line up with the valve stem hole, which I don't think it's going to. Anyway, I'll grab this lever and put it in next to the valve stem hole here, leave the tyre out and jam it under the sprocket there, put it down. Okay, what that does is keeps the wall, the other side of the wall of the tyre over that side, so that you can get that valve stem in. And next I'll grab the screwdriver, the thick side of the handle about there. Same with the hammer. You can use whatever, anything that's going to give you enough clearance in here to get your fingers in there. Now there are valve stem pullers and all that sort of shit to make this job easier, but I don't have one, so I've got to do it the hard way. It's going to be a real bitch. Anyway, you're going to get your valve stem in. Your hand in there. You want to make sure you've got your valve stem nut handy, ready, just in case a little fucker does poke its head through. You want to be ready to catch him. Now I'll tell you, it's much easier when your rim tape holes line up perfectly. I can see it. There you go. Alright. Put the nut on. Don't do it up tight yet. I'll remove the screwdriver. I'll just jam this tube in all the way around. Sorry if the angle of the camera isn't real good, guys. I'm doing the best I can. You want to try and make sure too that your tube isn't, your valve stem isn't on an angle either way. Try and make sure it's straight, so if you need to pull the tube around in the rim a bit just to straighten it up. If you get it straight, you can tighten it down a bit. Just finger tight. Okay. Now this is the part where most people probably pinch the tube and put a hole in it. So you want to be careful. I'm going to try to not pinch it myself. I've never pinched the tube, fingers crossed, touch wood, all that shit, but I don't do it today. But I've never managed to pinch a tube changing a tyre, so be stoked with that. You want to start levering it on opposite the rim lock. So spin the tyre around, the rim lock on your side. The trick to it is to each time you put this lever in, you want to make sure you haven't got the tube jammed in between your lever and the rim. You can feel if there's rubber in there. If you haven't, good, go ahead and leave it. Feel around, don't rush it. Once you pinch that tube, you're going to be one angry mofo when you finish and pump it up and it doesn't hold air. So you've got to take it out and put a new tube in. I don't know how you can tell really, it's just a feel for it. You can feel if there's the tubes jammed in between your lever and the rim. So sometimes you can just push it on a bit by hand. Want to remember, don't go past the rim lock. Just bring both sides up to the rim lock. See, I'm lifting the tyre out with my thumb here just so that this isn't scratching on the rim. It's not always possible to lift it away enough. You will get some scratches, but it's par for the course, unfortunately. So when you start getting down to the last bit here, you want to, again, make sure your bead is down in the rim, or else you're going to struggle big time. And don't forget about that tube. Don't pinch it. Take small bites. Bead. No rush. Push it down as you go. Now this is always the tightest part. But if you do it right, you won't have too much trouble. Look at that. No swinging off levers, it's just gentle levering. Yeah, this point is where having the spoon, getting it in there without scratching the rim is damn near impossible. The screwdriver, not much better, but at least it's flat. And again, you want to make sure your rim lock is pushed in before you put that last bit in. Thank you. Okay, basically done. Now make sure your valve stem's still nice and straight. Grab your valve. Make sure the little rubber seal's clean. Pop him back in. Tighten up with your valve tool. Now what I generally do, depends on the tyre. Sometimes you don't need anything, but sometimes a bit of soapy water down there helps. If you've done tubeless before, or if you're thinking about, or if you are putting a tubeless in, you'll know that you need that soapy water to seal it, but basically in this instance it just helps the bead of the tyre to pop out onto the rim. You don't need too much. You want to make a mess. If you have a air compressor to pump your tyre up, you probably don't need to bother with this shit. I just have the old trusty foot pump. Slop it around there a bit. I think the last thing you want to be doing is tightening up your rim lock. That's the last step, so don't do that yet. And I'm just going to put a bit of air in this. And air compressor is definitely much easier, but some tyres will really fight you going onto the bead, seating the bead on the rim. This one you can see here, it's all good around here. Just here it hasn't popped out yet. I've only got 10 psi in there so far, so hopefully she'll pop out. It's coming out nicely there. You can see the rim lock pushing itself out. Beautiful. That's only up to 24 psi and she's all good. Give it a little bit more. Always put a bit of moisture, a bit of spit on the valve. Make sure it's not leaking. If it bubbles up, you know it's leaking, obviously. That's looking good. Grab my 12mm. Tighten this valve stem nut. Tighten down your rim lock nut. I think there is some kind of torque specification for rim locks, but I don't know what it is. Just do it up tight, that's what I reckon. And there you have it. One perfectly fitted tyre, and hardly even broke a sweat. Piece of cake. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next vid.